Guys, the 8th round of the FIDE World Chess Championship is finally over. And आज का game, it was something. Ding replied with 1c4. Okay. इस गेम में ना बहुत कुछ ड्रामा देखने को मिला. So we see Gukesh playing e5, knight to c3, bishop b4, knight to d5, bishop went back, knight f3, d6, g3, c6, he took on e7, knight e7, bishop g2, and f6. Okay, a move like f6 usually बहुत खराब होता है, but Ding has played bishop to g2, and usually क्या होता है, bishop वगैरह c4 वगैरह पे आता है, and then that creates a problem in the diagonal. But a move like f6 is fine because you want to play e5, d5 in the future. And we see castles by Ding. Bishop to e6, controlling all these potential light square weaknesses. Now we see b3, d5, bishop to a3, and he is basically creating some plans. जब knight हटेगा तो he can't really castle. But so Gukesh क्या करता है अभी? He castles first. Now rook to c1, a5, knight went back to e1. अब ऐसे जैसे moves होते हैं ना, a move like knight e1 is very tricky. Now there are potential plans with early f4 breaks in the position, and also जब knight e1 पे जाता है, the bishop is controlling the lights, the diagonal, and जो center पे जो problems वगैरह इस पे तुम nullify कर सकते हो. Now we see rook to e8 by Gukesh, f4 by Ding. He took on f4, rook takes f4, took on c4, pawn takes c4, and rook to e4. Now in this position he played knight to a6, and knight to a6 का idea यही है कि basically you want this rook to get into the play. So a plan like knight to a6, queen to c7, rook to d8 could be a logical play. He played knight c2, we see queen c7, यहाँ पे आया knight to d4. He went back with the bishop, d3, knight e5, knight f3, exchanging the knights, but Gukesh ने यहाँ पे खेला knight to d7, and that's apparently a mistake. Okay, एक चीज़ मैं बताना चाहूँगा, इस गेम में काफ़ी मिस्टेक्स एंड बहुत सारे मिस चांसेस वगैरह देखने को मिलेंगे. तो डू कंसिडर लाइकिंग दिस रिकैप्स, बिकॉज ये बनाने में काफ़ी एफर्ट मारना पड़ता है एंड बहुत जल्दीबाजी करनी पड़ती है. सो वी सी रुक टू e8, नाउ रुक टू b1, अनदर मिस्टेक, एंड यहाँ पे गुकेश इज स्लाइटली बेटर एंड ही फाउंड बेस्ट मूव विच इज pawn to b5. If you take on b5, I'll give a check first. The king has to go to f1. Now you take back and you have this healthy pawn structure on the queen sets, and you can play b4, a4 in the future and try to get a passer. But यहाँ पे Ding ने खेला bishop to b2, and that's another mistake. He basically hang his a2 pawn. Gukesh simply taking the pawn, chopping off with the bishop a2. Now bishop to d4 attacking the queen. और यहाँ पे दो moves थे. There was this move with knight d to c5 and knight a to c5. Apparently the engine wants knight d to c5, but Gukesh played knight a to c5. And अगर तुम मेरे से पूछोगे कि इसमें difference क्या है, it is my understanding of the chess कि अगर मैं को सोचूं to come up with an answer, I believe knight d to c5 controls the b3 square, and this knight is controlling the b4 square. So it is easier if you play rook to b8, play b4 and c3. तो ये जो knight formation है, that could be much better. But if you play knight a to c5, this knight is not really holding those squares, whereas कि थोड़ा control तुम्हारा ऐसा रह सकता था. But okay, it's a lot complicated than that. Again, Gukesh played here bishop to b3, and that's another mistake. We see queen e1, bishop e6, another mistake. भाई कभी भी तुम कोई भी वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप निकाल के देख लो, you never see these kind of mistakes by the players. And इसका एक reason ये भी है ना, these players don't have increment in the position, तो उनको बहुत cautiously खेलना पड़ता है, because time पे भी pressure देखने को मिलेगा. Now you see Ding is having 13 minutes on the clock, and we see queen f2. That's a great move. And next move, rook to c8, bishop to e3, another great move. So you are having a flexible knight which can jump to knight d4, and also you can go knight to e1 as well and reroute to over here. Now we see rook to c7, knight d4, which is a mistake, but ठीक है. The plan was very simple. He wants after bishop f7 to go knight c6 and chop off all the pieces and get into a slightly better endgame. If you take the knight, rook takes c5, and that's bad. He might exchange down, and these pawns are not going forward. So we see h6 by Gukesh, king to e1. We see b4, another mistake, queen d4, knight e5, king to e2, queen g2, queen f2, queen d5, queen d4, queen g2, queen there, queen d5, queen d4, and तुम अभी यही लग रहा होगा कि for sure this is going to be a draw because Gukesh would simply play queen g2 and a draw, but नहीं. Gukesh in this position, despite having an equal, क्या बोलूँ मैं, position, he went with a bad move and he played queen to a2. That's a missed chance because this was a simple draw, but he went with queen a2, rook to c2, and the game goes on. Queen e6, queen check, king goes h7. He loses one pawn on the queen side, but he pushes with b3. Now rook to c1, queen d5, queen b4, queen g2, queen check, and the queens were traded. और यहाँ पे he played b2, rook b1, bishop to a2. एक और बार bishop a2 पे जाते हुए, and the plan is very simple. The moment he takes the pawn, you go knight c4, and that's a check, and basically they ended the game because it's an opposite color bishop endgame. So after taking, you can't really, win this. Just go bishop c4. I don't know, maybe like e3, and 3 on 3 they will trade the pawns, and कोई भी bishop को sack मार दो किसी भी pawn के लिए, and that basically ends up in a draw. तो भाई ये था आज का game. The game had such a rich position where Gukesh was slightly better, but he missed his chances, and he went into a losing position, slightly losing position, yeah, कह सकते हैं, and वहाँ से comeback देखने को मिला, and he had a simple threefold repetition draw, but he went forward. He had very optimistic mindset. He thought maybe he is slightly better, I don't know, but he went with queen a2, and again चीज़ें काफ़ी simplify होगी, and that ended up in a draw. So guys, ये था आज का video. I hope you guys like it. Do let me know what are your predictions for game 9, round 9 I believe. Gukesh have the white pieces. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. तब तक के लिए bye bye. Kate Gaming signing off. Peace.